This is the Two Marketeers podcast, where hosts and marketing experts Sean Patrick and Lindsay Waugh seek to uncover what makes brands so powerful in how they impact modern society and culture.
Two Marketeers. They've got a podcast. The Two Marketeers podcast.
Welcome to the Two Marketeers podcast.
I'm Sean Patrick.
And I'm Lindsay Waugh. Season 4 is in full swing.
Wow. Who'd have thought? Not this guy.
Or this guy.
So our theme for this season is designing experiences. The episode we're about to listen to takes us back in time
Dun, dun, dun.
in both our histories.
Design school. Back to school, baby.
Back to design school, a place that we both went to and that we both believe taught us some important lessons.
Yeah, I guess it set the stage for both of our careers as experts in marketing in different and interesting ways.
How so?
I guess you have to have a listen and find out.
Enjoy.
Lindsay and I have one thing in common that we've often joked about, but it's the fact that we both went to design school.
Yeah, we forget that.
Well, especially with you, because...
Yeah.
And I asked you, I remember when I was starting to do some research about, like, do people understand what design is? And,
Yeah.
and, you know, what does that discipline mean to some people? And how is it even perceived by the mass audiences? And I asked Lindsay, I said, okay, so a person who went to design school,
Yeah.
and I want to see if you'll remember,
Okay.
what's the number one thing you remember learning when you look back at your years in design school?
I think I said resilience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, it took
Because
you longer to
you're-
answer this time. It's like,
Oh, really?
Oh, you went
yeah.
resilience.
Resilience. I mean, I think it's what so beautifully set us up to, well, I don't know if we were set up well to be in agency life, but you're just used to being taken down a notch all the time. Like having to sell yourself, sell your ideas, prove why you did something, like get people bought into your thought process, and then having them tear a strip off you
Yeah?
on a daily basis, like with their...
Did you get a lot of strips ripped?
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. There was like profs that were notorious for just being really, really harsh, really bad. And you had to suck it up. And like, so I think that taught me how to be a very good salesperson of ideas, which I would say is one of the things that...
Of your ideas,
yeah.
especially?
Yeah, one of the things that I've just loved to do. I think strategy, I think everything in ad business is like 10% work, 90% salesmanship. Like you have to be able to get people bought into your way of thinking.
Okay, but let me identify something else, because there's another thing, I think, knowing how you work.
Yeah.
Is it about the selling of it, or is it about knowing you're going to have to sell it? Because you don't strike me as a seller. So
No, I think I get really excited about the way I design strategy. What makes me so excited to sell it. Because I'm like, I like the salesmanship of it.
yeah, because I'm telling you what you are, because you put so much effort in making sure it will sell. So
Right.
do you know what I mean? So what you love to do is
Yeah.
to listen, understand, and formulate, so that when you're not selling it anymore, you're just sharing it with a lot of passion and confidence.
Totally.
And I think that's so key, because you'll hear people say, you just had to know how to sell it. Listen, we're all salespeople, not salespeople. I know I'm actually not a salesperson, because if I'm not fully standing behind what it is I'm selling,
Right.
I am a mess.
But you're a great I think you're like me in that you're a great salesperson in that, because you truly believe that what you're selling is the right thing to do.
Yes.
I'm
And the
not
effort.
bamboozling anyone. Like then I would be a hot mess if I
Right.
thought it wasn't the right solution.
And that's what's really interesting, because I've started to have some conversations with a few people in the industry, some senior people, large business, small business. And I feel like that's the big thing that's starting to really blend, because I think a lot of our career when we worked together, the struggle was marketing or sales, which is it? And I think there's just this overall understanding that it's hard to distinguish depending on the person. What I will say is the difference between the two is sales is about selling more of your product, people selling more of your product and measuring their performance accordingly. Marketing is about people helping your product sell itself over time.
Right.
So the measure is a lot trickier.
And I heard something this morning that like totally resonated with me around how you develop brand strategy. It was that you're not creating a brand that your client doesn't know or have seen. You're helping them create their brand. Like that's how I really feel like my role.
Helping.
When you say I want to be a designer, it's like I've always just wanted to be an advisor to people about something that I know a lot about and just help them figure out their brand, help them develop their brand, not me popping up out of nowhere, gone for 6 months with a magical brand they've never seen before. Like I'm never going to do that.
No, that's what I do.
Yeah. Unicorn. Unicorn
maker.
Brand development in a magical
unicorn breeder.
kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why. I just think about it. I think that objectivity, that wanting to be objective and help others in the ways they need to be helped is why you're the perfect strategist.
Well, I think too, it's how you build trust with people. It's like, I'm not going to sell you something you don't need. I'm not going to tell you a story you don't know. I'm not going to design your brand for you in a way that you don't understand. Like it's you, it's not me. This is your brand and your product. And I'm just here to partner with you in that development.
I like that. I just want to be an advisor.
Yeah.
And I think with me, it was funny because Lindsay shared a podcast with me.
Did you listen to that?
Yeah. And it was so relatable. You were right, because she talks about, how she went into interior
also
design.
school.
And did that and did interior design and liked it and went into commercial. And then next thing she knew, she started getting into experiential and what rose very quickly and became a creative director.
Yeah.
And went kind of like, oh boy, I don't think I'm ready for this. And she went to whomever, a colleague or her boss, and said, I just want to be a designer.
Yeah. And
she felt that she wasn't equipped. And boy, can I relate to that, except I was never wise enough to say, I don't think I can do this. And I just kept trying to do it.
I'll figure it out.
But what was great was why Lindsay was so, you got to listen to more podcasts because you got to send me more of that stuff.
I was great.
What was really the takeaway to your point, and it's kind of my story where I peaked so early. She had the self-awareness. She probably also didn't have some of the pressures I may have invented for myself, which was like kids, living in the big city, expensive, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But also getting wrapped up in the business aspect of it. She stayed true to sort of, I don't think I'm ready to do this. And I'll always say from the time that I peaked as a senior creative director in digital, when it was just starting to become a thing, was I peaked early. And the following 20 years of my career, I now know where I want to improve. I'm always going to try and get back there of the things I wasn't doing. Yeah. And I think the number one thing was the highest level I had ever reached, which was at a pretty young age, was the level I really never wanted to get past. It was like, I just want to be a creative director. I just want to be this, that. And whether I'm a writer or a podcaster or any of these things, I just want to be a designer. And that's what I do. What's interesting is it's the other parts of me, the intangible pieces that are driven by the designer inside of me, the inquisitive one, the one trying to test theories, the one listening, the one trying again, the one who has to hear, go back and try again 15 times. Like you said, it's we are the people. And I say we as in you are a design thinker. Oops, I didn't want to say that, but you think like a designer in that you understand the way you think is very structured, and you've designed a process that makes you so much more valuable. But those intangibles are those things that it takes a long time as you things happen to you, right? Like things that it's those intangibles that define what becomes more tangible, which is your process.
Yeah.
So I think it's funny because it's sort of like at our core is you just want to be an advisor and I just want to be a designer.
Yeah.
But that's why we work so well together, but we see what we design and advise on as experiences for the customer, for the consumer of brands that we are objectively looking at.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting in that podcast we were listening to because she went on to be like a designer of physical experiences.
Yes.
And I think when you 20 years ago when I started in the industry and experiences were events or like a booth or whatever.
Yes, completely
and now,
controlled.
Like an in-person thing, and now it's like we think of how someone experiences a brand in so many different facets and how you have the ability, I think, through great strategic work to more meaningfully impact the experiences of people and brands together. And it's interesting how a lot of people, I think, still take it down to like an event, like a physical experience, but like brand experience design is so much more than that.
Yeah. Any experience design, I think it's kind of like this thing where Lindsay and I both live our brand. And I mean that from truly consultants work on our own, that sort of thing. So there's us. There's Lindsay, the mom, the whatever she wants to be, diamonds, fake tan, fake diamonds, real tan. See, I'm more the fake diamonds, real tan kind of guy. But
get out of here.
And then there's Lindsay, the professional. And then there's Sean Patrick, the 50-something white guy from the suburbs. And then there's Wise guy. Mm-hmm. So we as consultants have to understand that separation between our professional selves and our personal selves. But we also, what we were learning is we get to intermingle those as we see fit.
Yeah. Because I don't see a ton of separation anymore, which is funny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think you have to make that distinction. Like I created Wise Guy 5 years ago for the sake of saying, I want to create something that I can slowly build into the pieces of me that I believe are of value to my clients.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean it's all professional. It's like, oh, actually part of my story is this. And I think that's a great piece of the brand that shows, we talk about this, it shows story doing, not storytelling. Mm-hmm. Right. And I feel like this podcast was a great example of story doing.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't say, oh, I have a podcast. I actually will run into people and they'll be like, by the way, heard your podcast. They might say they love my podcast, but
I'm always like, I don't want to know.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's that. I think we created our brands almost as strategists. Mm-hmm. Right? So you've got Tough Love, you've got your consultant, we've got a lot of things going on, but each of them have been strategic paths and say, if I choose to go in that direction, at least I know the direction I'm going in.
Yeah. And I feel like it all started by being like, instead of there's so many people in the industry and on LinkedIn and this and that who just like talk about stuff. And
so
we're
excited and thrilled to share.
I'm honored to be mentioned.
We do it.
Totally. We do it as well. But I feel like this all came from like, how can we provide actual value to people? Like instead of me just being like, looking for a new client, reach out to me. It's like, how can I create a perspective or something that actually helps you, actually advises people? I just want to help people.
Let's talk about AI. And how to live in a world of AI.
4,000 ways to design AI experience. Yeah. So yeah, that's what this season's going to be about. Brand experiences. I mean, designing experiences. Designing brand experiences? I don't even know.
No, let's get back to that.
Okay.
So
designing experiences.
Designing experiences, both on the experiences for brands, but your own experience.
Completely.
Designing experiences. What does that mean? Where I see things going is regaining that focus on the intangible. Because we think of design and designing experience, we think of executing.
An output.
Yeah. And so much of marketing, and I come from it, is about executing something. In other words, 2 words Lindsay hates together, short term.
Ew.
Our goal is to elevate the value of what branding is all about. And the value, like not just the brands, we all understand brands are important, but where's the value behind truly elevating it? And how do you do that? And who knows, who wants to spend money on that?
Yeah.
Who wants to invest?
I think there's a new cohort of very smart clients out there who want it.
Right.
And I think that's combined with a large lack of skill in the industry. So around it, strategy and brand design.
Budgets are shrinking.
You need to do more with less.
And with a lot of conversations I've had with a lot of senior people, you need to do more with less. And what's interesting there is it's going to be interesting how that pans out, because I hear a lot of sort of like some beliefs are you won't need creatives anymore because that's where all the money is spent, or, you know, things that you can do a shoot in where it's a fraction of the cost of what it used to be.
Yeah. Get AI to design your images. And
we said it.
Yeah.
And I have to I am listening objectively in this case because I really want to understand what the thought is.
Yeah.
Some people think technology is the way. Some people think, bottom line is the way.
Yeah. I think like the key to doing more with less is designing smarter ideas, not cheaper ideas.
Absolutely. And maybe you don't need that many people thinking.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. 100%. 100%.
Explain.
So it's such an interesting thing now because you have to have the right people, and COVID hits and you don't care where those people are. It's like, I need 3 of the best people, and one is in Brazil and one flew to Italy yesterday and one is in their basement in Mississauga. Like, doesn't matter.
And no one knows where Lindsay is.
And then now it's like, you have these people in roles. You're demanding they be in office 4 days a week. You got to fill the hot body in the seat again. And is it like, are those the right people to be solving the problem? Or do you now just have 10 layers of people because you're paying their salary and making them show up in a boardroom? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like we've learned nothing in that way.
Well, we have.
Yeah.
But that's a discussion for another episode.
Yes, it is. And if there's one takeaway for today, it's definitely doing more with less.
Designing smarter ideas, not cheaper ideas.
And that's a wrap. Two Marketeers out. Thanks for listening to the Two Marketeers podcast. New episodes launch every 2 weeks.
Find the Two Marketeers podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you like to listen. And be sure to rate and subscribe.
Listen on our website, thetwomarketeers.ca, or you can ask Alexa to play the Two Marketeers podcast.
Want to keep in touch? Follow the Two Marketeers on LinkedIn or at Two Marketeers on TikTok. We've always got something to share.
This podcast is over.